Hello gorgeous besties, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Rachel. How are we? I for one am very excited for today's video. I'm 99% sure that I start every single video saying I'm so excited, but number one is the truth. I love reading vlogs. I'm very excited about them. But number two, that is especially true today because I'm going to be doing a reading vlog that I've never done before, and that is giving authors second chances. So over my time as a reader, I have obviously read some amazing books, and I of course have had some duds. Generally, when I have a dud, when I have a 2 or 1 star book, I don't really pick up anything else by that author. I just sort of go, well, this author's writing style didn't really work for me. I didn't really love this book by them that I thought I was going to, and I sort of just put them at the back of my mind. I unhaul their books, etc. But I thought it would be fun in this week's reading vlog to read a few books by some authors that I had sort of previously decided I'm not going to pick up anything else by them. I just don't really have any interest in it, and give them a second chance and see if I do end up clicking with a newer title by them. I have done this in the past, sort of inadvertently, not in a specific reading vlog challenge way, but a great example is Abby Jimenez. I read Part of Your World, and I didn't really feel too many things while reading it. It was like a 3-star moment, but I definitely did not feel motivated to pick up any other book by her just because that book didn't really do a lot for me. But then because all of my friends were talking about Yours Truly, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try out Yours Truly, and thank the gods that I did, because that is one of my favorite romances. It was in my best books of 2023. I think that book is absolutely fantastic. Also, Ali Hazelwood is another good example. I've had mixed experiences with her books, but of the 4 books that I've read, 2 I have really enjoyed, and I've even given one 5 stars. So I love giving second chances. I love making a point to go out and read a few books by an author before I really decide if they are just not for me. So that is what we are going to be doing today. I'm going to be reading from 2 different authors that I had previously decided that, I'm not really gonna pick up anything else by them just because I hadn't had too much luck with their other books, and see if my mind will be changed and they can become an author that I do want to read from more so in the future. Okay, so the first author that I'm going to be giving a second chance to and reading their newest title is S.M. Gaither. Now, this has a little bit of an asterisk next to this because S.M. Gaither wrote the Shadows and Crowns series, the first book being The Song of the Marked. I read that book 2 years ago and I did really enjoy it. Like, that was one of the very first fantasy romances that I had read other than like Sarah J Maas, and I really liked it. I had so much fun with it. However, as that Shadows and Crowns series went on, I definitely felt my interest waning in the plot. I felt that things were, not very organized. I just wasn't really excited really about anything going on, and I also felt that the romance lacked tension after the first book, and I just wasn't really drawn to it anymore. So I ended up DNFing the series. So I am going to be reading a new book by S.M. Gaither, but I of course have enjoyed a book by them, so I do just want to say that because I did enjoy The Song of the Marked. But I ended up DNFing that series as a whole, so I thought that this could qualify, and S.M. Gaither came out with a new book that I was definitely interested in, and that's kind of what inspired this video idea in the first place, and that book is Flame and Sparrow. So this is a new adult fantasy romance book, and this is the first book in a duology. We love a duology. I am very excited by the prospect of this. This book follows our main character. Her name is Karis, I believe that's how it's pronounced, and her sister goes missing, and Karis is convinced that this is the work of the gods. So Karis, on her quest to find her sister, ends up getting embroiled in court politics. She starts participating in some very dangerous trials, and she starts having a very interesting sort of flirtation, enemies to lovers situation with the god of fire. I think that all sounds really fun. I am excited. I do think that S.M. Gaither's writing style is very digestible. I definitely enjoyed myself and, kind of quickly got through that first book. So I am hopeful that I will have some luck with this book. This is the book that I feel the most like hope for compared to the other book that I will talk about in a second. I do think that I could enjoy this. It's just after I DNF'd the Shadows and Crowns series, I was kind of like, you know what? There's so many books that I need to read. I don't think I am going to be closely following S.M. Gaither's releases, but I've just heard really good things about this, so I do want to give her another shot. And then the second author that I want to give a second chance to is Jennifer L. Armentrout, JLA. She's a very popular fantasy romance author. I feel like so many people absolutely love her books, particularly the From Blood and Ash series, and then of course the spin-off series. I think it's the Flesh and Fire series. I don't really know. I have not been keeping up because there are so many books in those series, but here kind of is my history with that series. I don't really like it. I actually get asked a lot because, I'm a fantasy romance girly, right? I love all the fantasy romance classics. So I do get asked pretty frequently like, oh, have you read From Blood and Ash? Like, why don't you ever talk about that? Like, I feel like that would be in your wheelhouse. Besties, it is not. I did really try to enjoy that series, and I did end up picking up From Blood and Ash and A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire back like 2 or 3 years ago when I was getting back into reading because I had heard so many wonderful things about it. I read From Blood and Ash and I gave it 2 2 stars, but I figured I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna give book 2 a shot. And I read A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire and I gave that 2 stars as well. And at that point I was like, I can't do this. These books are so long. I don't really enjoy anything about them. I mean, there were moments, there were definitely moments that I thought were fun, but I think overall I just did not click to the story, the characters, the romance. It just wasn't for me. So at that point I decided, you know, JLA is not the author for me. I'm so happy for the JLA girlies. You guys look like you're having so much fun. I don't know, it's not for me. However, I have seen her newest release, I think this is her newest release, in Barnes & Noble, and I've seen some people talking about it, and I was like, you know what? Let's challenge ourselves. Let's revisit JLA's writing. Let's see how does it hit me years later. This is a new book by this author, and you know, I'm a different reader now. I've read so many other different things, so who knows? I might have some luck here. So the book that I'm going to be reading by Jennifer L. Armentrout is Fall of Ruin and Wrath. I always have a hard time with this title. I've heard like good things and I've heard not so good things. I don't really know though, as I am not someone who has been drawn to this author's work over the last few years. I don't know how I am going to feel, but I am 100% going to go in with optimism. I want to enjoy this, and I really do hope that maybe the From Blood and Ash series didn't work for me, but maybe this series can work for me. I assume this is gonna be a series. Yeah, it says book 1. So I'm gonna give it a shot, and I hope that I love it. I hope that I will look back at past Rachel and be like, sweet summer child, you had no idea JLA is actually going to be publishing one of your favorite books, right? Let's be optimistic here. So these are the 2 books that I'm going to be reading in this reading vlog, and I'm excited just because I have not read anything by either of these authors in a while. I believe the last time I read an SM Gaither book was early 2023, I want to say. And then the last time I read a Jennifer L. Armentrout book was like very early 2021, I think. So it's been a minute for both of them. So I'm going to get started, I think, with Flame and Sparrow, just because it's a little bit longer. I want to get started with this one, and I will let you guys know my first impressions once I'm a little bit into it. Hello bestie friends, happy Tuesday. So number 1, apologies on the hair situation. It is like half dry, half wet, and I just cannot be bothered to blow dry my hair right now. So we're a little all over the place. Apologies on that. But I did want to do my very first check-in for this reading vlog of giving authors second chances. I think when we last talked, I said I was going to start with Flame and Sparrow, but your girl is in a big audiobook mood. Unfortunately, Flame and Sparrow does not have an audiobook, so of course I am still gonna read that later this week, but I thought that I would scratch that audiobook itch with the audiobook for Fall of Ruin and Wrath by JLA. So I've been listening to this all morning. I am on page 150. I feel like I'm over a third of the way through this book, something like that. And I'm conflicted. I'm feeling a lot of different things, so let's talk about them. Very briefly though, quick recap on the plot. Main character's name is Callista. She is a lowborn, and she works kind of as like a courtesan to this baron named Claude. She does have some type of magical power though. She is kind of able to see things, whether that is see something that someone is like omitting or seeing a little bit of the future, something like that. I'm still a little bit fuzzy on those details, but she does have a way to access information that a lot of people do not have access to. So in exchange for her and her adopted brother's safety, she gives information to this baron named Claude. She is just a girl trying to find a place in this world, and one evening she feels compelled to go outside onto the property because she feels something calling to her, and she ends up stumbling across something she never thought that she would see, and that is a highborn who is in trouble. So highborn are like the highest level magical beings, not fae, but not fae, and she sees this highborn in distress. He is bloody, his eyes are gone, in very bad shape to say the least. So she ends up helping him, and she discovers that he was attacked by this rebellion group who want to take down the highborn, and they also wanted to like harvest parts of him, because apparently you can harvest bits and pieces of highborn in order to access their magic. So if you take their eyeballs, you get some magical seeing power. If you take their skin, hair, blood, other bodily fluids that I don't really want to discuss are apparently magical. He was attacked by these rebels, and our girl Callista does go out and save him, and the two of them have this little connection, and then Callista just keeps on running into this guy. His name is Thorn, I believe, and the two of them just keep running into one another, even though Thorn is not from where she is from, and she starts to discover that there is a lot of things going on with the rebellion. There's a lot of court politics going on that is very potentially dangerous to her and just everyone involved, and there just seems to be a lot of nefarious activities happening. So that is kind of where I'm at in the book. Things are slowly unraveling, but we have focused a lot on Callista and her attraction to Thorn and why they have this connection and why these two continue to be brought together and what they're going to do for one another in each other's lives. And that is all fine and great, but what I find kind of my biggest issue with this book so far is I just don't feel drawn in by these characters. Callista is fine. It's that thing where like, I don't have anything incredibly negative to say about this book, but I don't have anything super positive to say either because I don't feel drawn into the story. I don't feel excited about the prospect of what could happen. I feel like things are kind of slow moving. And one of the things I think that really did kind of disconnect me a little bit from the story, just because it did disappoint me a bit, is when Callista and Thorn sort of have this first interaction when she discovers him and she helps him and kind of rescues him from this terrible fate. They have this very like intimate scene, and no smut occurs at all, but it's this very like intimate, flirtatious, touching, like drawn out scene between them where it's very clear, this very like lust-filled scene. And this starts on page 67, and this is a 400+ page book. Just for me, it's too soon for all of that to be happening. And where I'm at now, the dynamic between them is changing for sure, but he is still so flirtatious with her. It's obvious, and I don't know, just the way that it is written, I am not finding it like super exciting. You know, I want us to have to work for something with the romance. I want us to feel like the characters have to slowly get to know one another. Like, where's the conflict? Where is the development going to happen? Because as of right now, they seem very attracted to each other. I feel like almost sort of gone further with one another in a few different scenes, and I don't know, it's not my thing. Not my thing, not the way that I love a romance to go down. And once again, I think it's just dependent on the way that it is written. My ideal fantasy romance is where it takes like multiple books for a couple to get together, but I have read some fantasy romances where the couples do get together in book one, but we at least like wait a little bit and there is at least some conflict or just something going on. So I don't know if that's going to change. Maybe there is going to be something that happens between them that really like pushes them apart and there is more conflict. That could definitely still happen. But where we're at right now, I'm just finding their dynamic kind of boring because we've already like expressed this lust-filled attraction, I think in a very kind of upfront way early on in the book, and that's just not my favorite type of romance dynamic. I also feel like as of right now, our male main character, he is just not really giving me a lot. I don't find him to be very compelling or interesting. I would like to know more about him, and it's still early on, so maybe that will change, but as of right now, I find him to be lackluster, I would say. So that's where I'm at. I'm a little bit bored and I don't feel connected to the characters. I'm not seeing anything that is like egregious, oh my god, this is terrible, but I think as of right now, I'm just not clicking with it. And that is a similar issue I had when I read the From Blood and Ash series, so we're not off to a great start, besties, but I am still definitely going to give this a shot. I have heard that the ending is crazy, and so who knows, maybe we will have a really fun ending that will get me intrigued kind of about the story as a whole more, but I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna see what happens. I am definitely going to keep an open mind and just really try to connect with these characters and get excited about what's happening. Once again, I don't think this is terrible. I don't feel super excited about anything that's going on, I guess. So that is where I am at with Fall of Ruin and Wrath. Not great, not terrible. I don't really know where I'm gonna fall once I finish this, but overall, this is just okay right now. So that is going to be it for me. I'm gonna go back to listening to this audiobook and I will talk to you guys later. Hello, my loves. Happy Wednesday. So I have more reading updates for you all. I read quite a bit of Fall of Ruin and Wrath last night, and I am now 60% of the way through this book. I am unfortunately neither living, laughing, or loving my reading experience at this point. The further the book goes on, the further that I just have issues with it, and I am just not really clicking. I'm not really entertained. I still have to get through the last 40%, so we'll see where things end up. But let me just talk about a few of the issues that I'm having with this book. Number one, I think kind of the biggest thing for me is I am just bored. I am finding this book to be slow, particularly this middle part. I'm not super entertained. I'm not very engaged. I'm not finding the characters to be very exciting. I don't feel like invested in their journeys and who they are and what's going on. And I definitely feel like this book just, not a lot is actually happening. When I think about it, like when I zoom out and look at this book as a whole, like not a lot is going on. Callista is having lots of conversations with the Baron. She's having lots of conversations with Thorn. I think that we are figuring things out. There's some hints of rebellion. There's some hints of problems with other kingdoms. But within this book thus far, I just don't feel very entertained. And that sucks. I really just wish that more was happening, and I wish that there were just some more interesting things going on. And I also I'm not into the romance. I do think things moved way too quickly in the beginning, and that has just continued to kind of go on. Don't really love the characters too much, and I just don't really find their romance to be exciting because I feel like we don't really have a lot to work for. It was just very easy for them to get together. And Callista, she's fine. Thorn is kind of like a glass of milk, to be honest with you. A horny glass of milk, but a glass of milk nonetheless. He doesn't really give me anything, and I don't feel invested in them as characters. So the romance to me isn't really doing anything. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Once again, I am very intrigued by this super exciting ending that I have seen so many people talk about. So we'll see. We'll see how things go. But, you know, thus far I am finding with this little challenge that I'm doing that perhaps JLA and I are just not meant to be. That's gonna be it for me. I am actually gonna go finish this book today, and then I will let you guys know my final thoughts on it once I'm done. Hello, my beautiful friends. Time for another reading update. I have finished one book, I have started my next one, and I have a lot of thoughts. So let's get straight into it. Number one, I did finish Fall of Ruin and Wrath, and I did not like this book. You know, I wanted to give JLA another shot, but I think that I am just not the reader for her, and that is okay. But overall, I just had way too many issues with this book, and I really didn't enjoy my time reading it. I don't think that there was a moment in the book that I was like, oh, this is like fun, I'm liking this. I had some optimism a little bit in the beginning, but I think that that was just me starting fresh with my mindset and really wanting to give her book a shot. But as the book went on, I just had a lot of issues with the plot, with the characters, with the romance. There really wasn't anything that worked for me. A lot of the things that I talked about already, the problems I had, those continued on, and I overall just felt pacing was off. I felt like not a lot happened, and I truly, even after finishing this book, I still feel confused about like, what is the plot of this book? And of course, this is gonna be a series, so I'm sure things will be revealed as time goes on, but I just don't feel that I was gripped by the story and by the potential for what those things could be during my time reading this. And then I really did not enjoy the romance. It was just so lust heavy, and I didn't feel romance between these two characters. I didn't feel a deeper desire. I didn't really get them as a couple, I guess I will say. And that's just a total personal preference of how each person likes their romance done. I don't think that this romance was done well. I don't think that it was developed. And the ending, I didn't even really react to it. I gotta be honest with you. I think at that point I was very disenchanted with the story as a whole, with these characters, with the romance, that things just didn't really, you know, I wasn't into it. I wasn't into it. So this is a 2-star read, and for the first book of this challenge reading vlog, I think we can safely say I am just not a JLA girly, and that is all right. I am glad that I gave another one of her books a shot though, because I've always been curious, because there are so many fans of her books who absolutely love them. I wanted to see if I could join in on the fun, but I just don't think she's for me, because truly I just did not enjoy really any of this book. So that is that for Fall of Ruin and Wrath. And the other book that I will be reading in this vlog I have started, and that is Flame and Sparrow by S.M. Gaither. I've been reading this on my Kindle because this is heavy. This is a brick. This is a weapon. I just can't hold this while I'm reading. I think I'm like 45% of the way through this book. And in this book, we follow Karis. In the beginning of the book, we find out Karis is an elf, and she lives amongst elvish people, and her sister goes missing. All that is left of her is this bloody bed, and our main character believes it is the work of the gods. So in this world, we have humans, we have elves, and we have gods, and we also have like middle gods and then upper gods. You know, there's kind of this hierarchy system. And in this world's past, the elves have kind of been pushed out, or they have been just like eradicated by the gods, by the humans. No one really wants the elves around, but they were at one time royalty. They had status, they had power, they had money, they had wealth. And so our main character kind of joins this rebellion to rise up against the gods, which is very taboo in this world because all of the humans worship the gods, absolutely love them, do anything for them. So the remaining elves, and Karis is one of the remaining elves, they have to hide who they are and try to rebel in secret. So they destroy temples and just do anything they can to kind of push back at the gods. Our main character, Karis, finds herself in a situation where she gets kidnapped by some humans after she destroys a temple. She inadvertently kind of ends up being saved by the god of fire, which really shocks her because she hates the gods. Her whole life mission at this point is to destroy them. But he kind of makes a bargain with her that he will save her, and then he protects her from the fire that she is about to be sacrificed in. But then her elvish friends come and actually save her from where she's at. And then Karis does act on this bargain between her and the god of fire, where she basically tells him, I want to serve you, I want to live in servitude, I want to ascend and be a part of your court. And he agrees to this. So she goes to his like middle god realm and is going to partake in these trials to try to become ascended and work in his court for all of eternity. But in her mind, she's like, I'm gonna infiltrate the gods and destroy them from the inside. So that's kind of the plot. It is a little bit confusing, but essentially Karis right now, she is in the realm of the gods and she is learning more about them, and she's going to partake in these trials to try to ascend, but then also try to destroy them from the inside. That's kind of her overall goal. So I am liking this book more than Fall of Ruin and Wrath. I like SM Gaither's writing style more than JLA, and I think like I knew that going in that was probably going to happen, because with The Song of the Marked, The Twist of the Blade, and The Call of the Void, that Shadows and Crowns series, the writing style was never really my issue. So I think that she has a very digestible and easy writing style. I got into the story pretty quickly. The issue that I'm having though with this book is I think that things are moving a little bit fast and we're missing some important context, and I'm not really understanding the motivations of our characters, and it's making me detached from the story a little bit. Things happen very easily and very quickly for Karis in a way that does not really make sense to me. One of the big plots of this book is obviously she's gonna go destroy the gods from the inside. It's gonna be great. We have no idea how she's going to do this, and she seems so confident in whatever she's going to do, but I genuinely have no idea what her plans are, what she's doing. She's kind of just aimlessly going around gathering information in these realms, and I don't understand what her motivations are, kind of more in a narrow sense. Of course, I understand she wants to avenge her sister, she wants to save the elvish people, so she wants to destroy the gods, but like, what does that mean? What does that entail? So for me, that has been a little bit frustrating while reading this, because I feel like I don't know her, I feel like I don't understand what her plans are, and we're kind of just watching her run around this god realm, learning things, and I'm like, okay, but what are you actually going to do with this information? Like, what are your plans? So of course, that is something that we could learn later on in the book. So it's just been kind of a lot of that I have been confused by. I also feel like the romance dynamic that we have here is, I don't think it's been very well developed. I do still have quite a bit to go, but I just feel like it was kind of like they met, they were kind of neutral, and then now they're really into each other. And I just feel like the romance dynamic hasn't been super well developed. I mean, this is a 662 page book. Okay, that is long. And I kind of wish that we had had a bit more buildup of the romance. And also, I don't know, Ian at the beginning of the book, she does get sort of protected by the God of Fire to not get killed in the sacrifice, but her elvish friends actually are the ones who end up coming in and saving her. And we never learn how they did that. It's just like she asks them, hey, how did you guys save me? Because she was in prison for 10 days. It was this whole thing. In the book, it just says, and then they explained how they did it. And then we just like move on. And I'm like, I would have liked to know that, because then I think we could have gotten to know the elvish people better. We could have gotten to know their strengths and their powers better. But instead, I feel like we're just getting very surface level introductions to everyone. So yeah, I am, you know, this video is going in a direction I didn't think it would, I'm gonna be honest with you. But I will say there are aspects of this book that I do enjoy. I do think the way that the author is describing this like god realm is really beautiful and whimsical, so I think that is a strength. Our main character also does have this little like baby griffin sidekick named Moth, who is super cute and kind of brings some comic relief to the book. But I think the romance dynamic has been kind of weak thus far in that development. And then also just the world building and the lore and kind of how we're learning about this world as a whole. It's just lots of like monologuing of her saying, what's this? And then someone will tell her this information. Oh, also, she's disguised as a human in this realm, but all the gods are just like telling her whatever she wants to know. Like, it hasn't been hard for her at all. She also gets like put in this cottage and they're like, okay, you have to stay here until the God of Fire is ready to see you. But then she just like walks out and explores the realm and talks to all these different gods and learns all this information and sees all these diagrams and maps from them. And I'm like, why is no one watching her? Why is no one preventing her from going around? You guys are these big bad gods. But then this human girl is just like going on essentially a hot girl walk around the god realm and learning all she wants to know and like getting all the information that she needs. So yeah, I'm confused. And like I'm holding out hope that things will get explained. I'll understand a little bit more why certain things were done the way that they were done early on in this book, but I just don't really like the plot structure of this book, and the romance is a little bit underwhelming. So yeah, that's where things are at. So I am probably gonna finish this book either today or tomorrow. I'm thinking I would like to finish this and give you guys my final thoughts. We're holding out hope. We're gonna hold out hope for a fun ending, and we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I thought that this was gonna go a little bit differently than it is, but you know what, that's fun. That's what an experiment, a little challenge reading vlog is all about. So we'll see how things go, but I will talk to you guys later once I finish Flame and Sparrow. Hi besties, so it is the next day, and I'm here to give you my final thoughts on Flame and Sparrow, which I did finish last night. And besties, I hate to say it, I really do, I am saddened to announce I did not enjoy Flame and Sparrow. You know, we tried, we really did, and I'll talk about that more at the end here, but I just want to say what a time to be alive. Honestly, this vlog did not go the way that I thought it would, but of course I always want to be genuine with you guys, and these are my genuine feelings. This is real, this is me. I'm apparently exactly where I'm supposed to be with these books, that is. So let's just get into it briefly. I don't want to harp on this book too much, but a lot of the issues that I had that I did did talk about yesterday, those didn't really change for me, and I did not feel like we improved as the book went on. I feel like there was definitely room to, because this is a 660 plus page book. There's a lot of room for potential growth here, but I never really got over some of the issues that I had with it, which were, once again, major conveniences for this main character. Things just moved very quickly, very easily, very fast. I did not like the way that the world building was done. And then at the same time, I feel like a lot of things were surface level. Also, the romance, not for me. I just don't think it was very well developed. It was very neutral, very nothing vibes, and then quickly changed to, oh my god, I'm obsessed with you and all of that. And I don't know, I just wasn't really charmed by the romance, I guess. And I do want to say, there are explanations for why some things went the way that they did. When you finish this book, you kind of can reflect back on some of the earlier things that happened in the book and go, oh, that's why this happened. Oh, that's why this was so convenient, whatever. Saying all that, acknowledging all of that. I still did not have fun reading this book. And at the end of the day, I'm here for fun. I'm here for a good time. All right. I just want to enjoy myself. I just want to feel that excitement. I just want to feel in love with the fantasy world and the characters and the romance. And that just didn't happen here. I just think that the issues that I had with the book really did overtake any possible like overall enjoyment for me with this. So I am unfortunately giving this book 2 stars as well. I did talk about there are a couple strengths in this book, which was just like the very beautiful descriptions of the realm, and I thought that Moth, the little baby griffin, was very cute, and I do stand by those opinions, but this book is way too long and chock full of a lot of things that I did not enjoy for me to give it any more than a 2 star. Like, I would not recommend this book. I did not enjoy myself, and while I can see the beauty in some of the things in this book, it just wasn't for me. So that is that on Flame and Sparrow. So what have we learned this week? I thought this was gonna go different. I gotta be honest with you guys. I really did hope to find some renewed love for either of these authors' works. And unfortunately, I was just not able to get there with either of these books, but I know that they have a lot of fans, so this is definitely just a me thing. Learned a lot about myself this week. We love that self-reflection. And I'm glad that I did try both of these books out, because right when Flame and Sparrow was announced, I was very much interested in giving it a shot, because I have enjoyed some things from SM Gaither, but just did not have luck with her series as a whole. And when Fall of Ruin and Wrath came out, I mean, I was curious because I see so many people absolutely loving her books, and I really wanted to try to get there, but unfortunately it didn't work. That's okay. These things happen. But overall, I am very glad that I tried this experiment out, even though I had results that I did not expect. Side note, before we close things out, I also wanted to talk about this. They say the term fuckboy in this book. Like, this is a fantasy old world setting, magical, lighting candles. Do we even have electricity? I don't know. And they call someone a fuckboy. I feel like if you don't have electricity, you can't use the term fuckboy, right? Like, fuckboy feels like such a modern term, and they said it in here. They called one of the characters a fuckboy, and that just completely took me out of the story. So I am docking points for that as well. All right, my beautiful besties. So as always, thank you for coming on this journey with me. Even though it did not pan out the way that I wanted to, I hope that you guys still had fun and enjoyed the video. So if you made it to this point and you wanted to let me know, please leave the fire emoji. Please make sure that you're following me on Instagram and Goodreads. They are always linked down below. And I really appreciate that you watched this video. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. I love you all so, so much, and I will catch you guys in the next one.